Hello, Mountaineer Nation, and welcome into another episode of the Mountaineer Effect. I'm your host, Sam the Man. If you haven't already, smash that subscribe button. We're 3 subscribers away from 500, and that's, for me, a pretty big deal. Today, we've got a very special guest, my good friend Marcus Dean, host of The Flavor of the Week. I'll put the link to his page down below. Go give his channel a chance. He's got some good content. He talks about a lot of different teams. Unlike me, I focus on the Mountaineers, which, this season, But anyway, me and Mark's going to just banter back and forth about football and see what we come up with. So you guys hang around and see what we got to say.
Absolutely.
Been a lot of news today. Been some big coach firings going on today. Some that, are kind of surprising and some that aren't.
Right. The one that kind of shocked me was the Washington State firing. I mean, if I remember the facts right, fired for not willing to get his COVID vaccine.
Yeah. And he didn't get his COVID vaccine, and then he got a religious exemption, and they still fired him.
That's an HR lawsuit coming right there.
Yeah, I would say so. I don't understand, I understand freedom of choice, and we won't get into politics here, but I just think that there's going to be a big bugaboo come out of that one.
Yeah, I think so too. That one you got to kind of attach with kid gloves, so to say. I mean, with that one's going to be a sticky situation. I wouldn't want to go anywhere near that one.
Yeah.
No.
Well, and then you've got, Ed Orgeron's going to be out at LSU.
Yeah, I was kind of shocked by that one. I mean, if you think about it, 2 years removed from a national championship, and I actually was reading an article about this. I'm glad you brought this up. Every single head football coach dating back to the 70s, when LSU really started going and really started getting good, so to say, they fired every single one of their head football coaches except for one. Can you guess who that one person was they did not fire?
Nick Saban.
Yes, they did not fire Nick Saban. He actually left for the NFL, was the only reason why they did not fire him, because they was talking about firing him after he had a subpar season coming off the win of the national championship in 2007, but he actually bolted for the Miami head coaching job.
Well, it's kind of shocking, that they went ahead and, come to the agreement to terminate him at the end of the season, let him finish out the season. I mean, They just had a big, pretty big upset over Florida. I mean, it's not like their season's a bust or anything, a complete bust or anything. But I mean, I was kind of shocked.
Yeah, I was too. But, the more I read about it, I mean, it was something it's kind of been brewing for a while now. I mean, from what I read, I mean, he's kind of, ever since that time they won the national championship, he hasn't really been putting his best effort forward. It's coming out, he's more been a womanizer. I mean, I don't know what they're saying, that's what the reports are saying, but, take it with a pinch of salt. But maybe that could have led into it. That's a possibility. But I was shocked. I mean, because now everybody and their brothers, that on message boards that I've read, like Tennessee fans are wanting him to come coach the offense. Virginia Tech is wanting him to come be the next head coach, which I'm sitting there thinking, just shaking my head. You don't want to, if all these rumors are true, you want to stay, your program needs to stay far away from that. And Tennessee's already in enough hot water with the debacle that they had Saturday night against Ole Miss. And I'm sure you've seen that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's embarrassing.
Yeah,
Tennessee fans should be ashamed of themselves.
Yeah, I mean, that was, as football fanatics as we are, that was probably hands down the worst thing I've ever seen in my entire 32 years of watching football. That was hands down the worst thing I've ever saw. I mean, it got to the point where both administrations was meeting there at the 50-yard line with the referees because they was going to call the game and suspend the game because the fans couldn't control themselves.
Well, and it's a shame that happens. I mean, the fans, they buy that ticket and think that they're entitled to do whatever they want. That's just not the case. And at the end of the day, all you're doing is hurting your school, you're hurting your team, you're hurting the reputation of the school, the administration.
Yeah.
You're just hurting your university all around. So,
Yeah.
and that kind of behavior is not tolerable.
Yeah. Yeah, I was embarrassed for him for that.
We'll change gears a little bit, kind of moving on from that. Some interesting matchups going on this weekend. So what's going to be your flavor topic this week? And don't give away anything, but just kind of go from there.
Well, our flavor of the week is going to be the third Saturday in October. It's going to be the mighty Alabama Machine and the Tennessee Vols we just got through talking about. Who would be the flavor of the week? Tune in and see.
What other games are on the schedule this week that's piqued your interests?
Notre Dame and USC. That's always a good matchup. You kind of throw the record books out to there. I mean, we've seen what Notre Dame's capable of against Virginia Tech. And we've seen I've seen a little bit of USC, and they fired their head coach at the beginning of the season. They're sitting right there at 3-3. Notre Dame's only had that one loss to Cincinnati, which I still don't see how they've done that at home. But hey, everybody's entitled to a bad loss. But which quarterback will trot out there for the Irish? Will it be Jack Cohn or will it be Taylor Brashew? We shall see.
What is it with the Irish and their revolving quarterback situation? It seems like Chip Kelly just can't quite, either he can't or won't, pick a direction.
I don't know. It's weird. I mean, because I think, if you, to me, is if you have more than one quarterback capable of running your offense, you don't have a quarterback. To me, that's the way I look at it. I mean, and Jack Cohn came in from Wisconsin. He was supposed to be the guy. He was supposed to lead the pro style and quote unquote offense of Notre Dame. But this young true freshman has came in, and he's more of a running threat, where Jack Cohn's kind of a statue, and Notre Dame doesn't have the great offensive line like they've had in past to kind of protect him. And Virginia Tech kind of exposed that in the first half of the game while Jack Cohn was in there.
Kind of, we'll shift gears again because I'm interested in your opinion on this too. Well that at the beginning of the year I picked Oklahoma to win a national championship, and I can still see it a little bit. I mean, scrappy teams that don't lose but find ways to win games.
Right.
I mean, that's part of what football is
right.
Find ways to win well and find ways to win ugly. What do you think the chances are now with Caleb Williams at the helm?
Well, so far, I mean, he's played against he played against a really good Texas team. Came in and executed the game plan very well. He was responsible for 5 touchdowns in that second half. And I see him very well guiding through the rest of the Big 12 if they choose to stay with him, which Lincoln Riley has proved to stay with the hot hand, and I think they could very well, be undefeated at the end of the season and win another Big 12 title and get to the playoffs. And this is where it's going to be interesting. Will Lincoln Riley go back to Spencer Rattler because of that game experience and that big time game experience, or will he stick with a young kid? And by that time, you're going to be playing teams that can fight back. You're going to be playing at Georgia. You could be playing at Ohio State. You could be playing in Alabama, teams that can actually punch you back in the mouth. And you're going to see how resilient this kid is.
Yeah, I mean, if you really look at Oklahoma, if they could get to number 2 or 3, that would actually set them up very well to have a national championship run, even though nobody's going to beat Georgia. I think we both agree on that.
No.
I mean, but I think they're a dark horse. I think a lot of people are sleeping on them, and I think this Caleb Williams development really changes the dynamic of their team, and it brings some fire to their team. And I really do believe that's going to benefit them and for the rest of the season.
I agree. And, I actually did see an article. Man, it's funny that we're talking about Oklahoma. I seen an article on Bleacher Report, and I just happened just to click into it to see because it had Spencer Rattler on the cover. It said, where would Spencer Rattler go? And had him listed as going to possibly Georgia, Ole Miss, Arizona State, and a few other places, possibly for his services if he were to hit the transfer portal.
Well, and that's the thing. He hasn't really done himself any favors either because, the kid is universally unliked. I mean,
Yeah.
he really is. Like, I haven't talked to anybody that's made a case as to why they like Spencer Rattler. If you like Spencer Rattler, leave comments below and tell us why. And I'm dead serious because I'd like to know what people's take on it. So comment. But it seems to me like bringing him in is almost inviting cancer into your team.
Yeah. Yeah, it is, but he's going to go to a right facility that can actually handle that cancer. I mean, to me, he seems like it sounds like a whiny little schoolgirl that don't get their way. I mean, that's just the way he comes off as. I mean, he was very unsupportive in the Texas game. You could see him on the sidelines. He was not engaged with his teammates. He wasn't going up to Caleb, hey, good job. He wasn't any of that. I mean, he was literally pouting on the sideline because he got pulled.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and then they won the game and he was no emotion at all, none. And I mean, as a team sport, you at least got to, even if you're not the guy, you need to be happy that you won the game. I mean,
yeah.
So we'll see how that develops. I think that's going to be an ongoing story as the season progresses.
Really where I could see him ending up at, and he would be a perfect fit for it because I can't stand the head coach. But Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss.
I mean, I could kind of see that too.
Yeah, he would be a perfect fit there because they're both douchebags.
Well, I mean, he could end up at Clemson under Dabo.
Oh gosh, and you don't like Dabo?
No, I don't like Dabo. But yeah, football this year has been very interesting. I think it's been one of the more exciting years that we've seen.
Yeah.
Been some weird teams winning and big upsets that nobody expected. I mean, it's just been, we're about halfway through the season, and I mean, it's really been a spectacular year.
Yeah, it really has been. And if you think about it in the grand picture of it, look at the powerhouse. Look at the blue bloods that are back. Michigan. I mean, Michigan is back. I mean, until they beat Ohio State, they're not back in my opinion, until they can beat Ohio State. But this might be the year with their three-headed monster that they have there in Michigan could be the year they take down Ohio State and get possibly to the playoffs or possibly to Big Ten championship game. And as they call little brother, Michigan State, is sitting there at 7-0 as well. I mean, that's another big surprise to me as well.
Well, I could definitely see Michigan beating Ohio State for sure. I mean, I think that's going to be a fantastic game. I think it's, for me, one of the most anticipated games because I think it's going to be the coming out party for Michigan officially.
Right. Yeah. Because Michigan has steamrolled everybody. No one's been able to stop them. I mean, they lining up in a 2 tight end set, in that pistol formation, basically handing the ball off 35, 40 times a game and daring people to stop them.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Mark, thanks for coming on tonight, buddy. I appreciate it. It's a good time. We'll do it again as much as you want to. But I'm Sam the Man. This is the Mountaineer Effect. Let's go Mountaineers. Be sure to tune in Thursday night at 7 o'clock. We're going to have West Virginia standout running back Eugene Napoleon live on Facebook and YouTube as long as